country's most crucial bill, which, when passed, will have a great positive impact on the growth of our great country. Mr. President, the bill is known by its short title, the Gender and Equal Opportunities Bill 2021. This bill seeks to further implement Section 42 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, and other matters connected therewith. It also seeks to provide certain provisions on the Convention for the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW, and the Protocol to the African Charter and Human and People's Rights on the rights of women in Africa and other matters connected therewith. This bill was read for the first time on this floor on Tuesday, the 26th of November, 2019. The bill will provide a legal basis and foundation for realization of the goal of Section 42 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. Similarly, it will allow for the domestication of the Convention for the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, as well as the Protocol for the African Charter on Human and People's Rights on the rights of women in Africa. This bill will provide a legal basis and foundation upon which there will be formal, structured, and institutional responses to prevent discrimination and provide for the rights of men and women, the equality of all persons, and opportunities available to all citizens, including people living with disability in Nigeria. The bill, when enacted, will provide for the prohibition of discrimination against both women and people living with disability, while also ensuring the equality of opportunities of every person. The bill shall ensure the full development and advancement of all persons for the purpose of guaranteeing them the exercise and enjoyment of human rights and fundamental freedoms, reinforcing Nigeria's constitutional legal framework for non-discrimination of a person as a right for its people. The bill will support agencies and stakeholders to recognize and respond to modification of sociocultural practices, ensuring the rights of widowers are recognized and protected, while also providing guidance towards eliminating gender stereotypes, prejudices, and emphasizing the promotion of equality of all Nigerians to access opportunities that enhance their dignity and well-being. The bill, when enacted, will also encourage women to aspire and attain their full potentials, considering the fact that there are real and nuanced forms of discrimination against women, limiting their entry and growth in most formal spheres of work. The bill therefore seeks to avail equal opportunities of career choices, growth and promotion, job security, as well as equal treatment in work value, especially as it relates to women's rights to paid maternity leave. This bill, when enacted, will assist in dislodging some of the barriers to women's equal access to all forms of financial credit, technical assistance, family benefits, and other aspects of cultural life. The bill will also consolidate government and community protection and zero tolerance for violence in any circumstance, while promoting peace and harmony in homes where all its members are guaranteed equal access and treatment against discrimination, particularly for the girl child, to access education, women participating and contributing to governance and public life, uninhibited by customary laws, all forms of sexual and gender-based violations as they seek to access education and decent life conditions. Mr. President, distinguished senators, you will find this bill beneficial for the clear and constructive ways the bill seeks to address several forms of issues bedeviling men and women in their constituencies, in issues of land ownership, inheritance, education, employment, and rising tide of sexual and gender-based violence in private and public spaces of institutions of learning. The bill further consolidates Senate's courageous passage of the bill on sexual violence in higher institutions in Nigeria, assuring girls, women, and men protection from abuse and exploitation in our schools. The concerns and views related to text of the previous Gender and Equal Opportunity Bill have been largely addressed through deep sectoral consultations with faith and cultural institutions and leaders, youth, the media, and women groups across Nigeria. Let me say, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, that we have consulted far and wide before we brought it back for second reading. In fact, yesterday, I was opportune to be at the Sultan's outreach to all faith-based clerics on the bill, and they passed a vote of confidence on the bill. Responses and proposals harvested have been incorporated into the text of this new bill, Gender and Equal Opportunity Bill. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I am very grateful for the opportunity given to me to lead this debate on this bill.
Indeed, I agree with that. There is no senator here, Mr. President, dear colleagues, that does not have a daughter, does not have a mother, and does not have a sister. Therefore, it's a given that every senator is in support of this very, very pivotal bill. Mr. President, if you take the simple analogy of our body holistically, and the statistics says that women constitute 60% of the total population, which means that half of our body, if you take that scenario, in fact, more than half of our body is what we are talking about. Who in their right sense would decide not to make use of that part of the body? I don't think it is possible. And so, Mr.
Have you finished?
So, Mr. President, dear colleagues, this bill is a very pivotal bill. It's a bill that is just commonsensical, that we will do what is right to ensure that Nigerian women are given equal opportunity, fairness, and equity to participate and to be part of the nation. Mr. President, even the new normal dictates that women are given fairness and equity in whatever it is that we do. And so I support this bill.
And I could remember in the 8th Assembly it was debated in this chamber. However, from an Islamic perspective, which is a socio-cultural practice of Muslims.
Distinguished, I can't hear you. Is your mic working?
I said, sir, this bill was debated in the 8th Assembly, and it has come back here again. I said, from a socio-cultural practice, like the last paragraph of page 1, as Muslims, socio-cultural practice is the practice of our religion. And therefore, this aspect of it, by equating opportunities, actually infringes with the provisions of the Quran, of which I am a Muslim, and also the Bible. So, for me, I will not support
Please, distinguished colleagues, please, let's listen to our colleagues when they speak.
I will not support the passage of this unless until the word equal is removed. If we now have debate on the Gender Opportunities Bill, fine. But when you bring equality into it, it infringes into the practice of Islamic religion. So that is where the conflict is. Because of this inconsistency, I will not support the passage of this bill for second reading. Thank you very much.
Support fully the submission of the last speaker, Senator Yesu Abakar or Trava, that some provision of this bill competes with the faith in Islam. When it comes to cultural practice, which is part of religion, is part of our cultural aspect. And in the Senate, this bill was debated, but if the topic of equity was okay, but equality is no. Because you don't just meet in the broad daylight amend the Holy Quran, change the Holy Quran, which is our book of faith. So for that reason, I don't support the second reading of this bill. Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, I stand to fully support the reading and passage of this bill on second reading, the Gender and Equal Opportunities Bill. And I want to say that our humanity endows us with rights and liberties which by law and international conventions are inalienable, irrespective of our race and our gender. History, however, is replete, Mr. President, with cases of denial and restriction of such rights and liberties to the extent that persons or groups that enjoy privileges and benefit of advantage ascribe to themselves powers to determine the liberties of others to the extent of subscribing such liberties. Women have been at the receiving end of being excluded or even suffer denial of rights and liberties. Distinguished colleagues, the struggle of all humans to enjoy inalienable rights have always emerged victorious over dominating forces over time. For me, women are not only entitled to equal opportunities, it's not equality but equal opportunities, but must be in fact and in practice. Moreover, being a woman is not being less human. Neither is femininity inferiority. I therefore want to canvass very strongly that we support the passage of this bill so that the rights, liberties, and opportunities will not just be for males, but for females, so that every woman, every lady, every mother, every daughter, and every sister will not only be entitled, but will actually enjoy these rights that are inalienable.
I want to join others to appreciate my sister for sponsoring this bill, Senator Lujimi, on gender and equal opportunity. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I want to say that this bill is very, very important. As we all know that God created us the same, both male and female. The issue of gender, when it has to do with opportunities, women are always pushed to the side. And we all know that when a woman is given a position of authority to serve, there's always peace. And this transcends through the family, through the society, and the government. My colleague that argued on the issue of equal
the use of the word equal to be removed, I don't think that gives a problem. If we want to look into the definition of the word equal, it's a person or thing that is the same as another in status or quality. If God created us equal, there is nothing wrong with the use of that word. And therefore, the objectives of this bill, as stated, they are very apt and should be accepted by us. I want to urge my distinguished colleagues to please accept the passage of this bill into second reading.
I'd like to begin by lending my voice in support of the passage of this bill for second reading. Mr. President, this is not the first time this bill is coming before us. I recall vividly, it also came before us in the 8th Senate. And some genuine issues were raised, concerns were raised by some of our colleagues based on cultural and religious sensibilities. And it died at that time, Mr. President. But I'm happy that Senator Olujimi has taken the pains to carry out detailed consultation with some of our leaders in this sector to try and address some of the fears and concerns. But from the feelers I'm getting today in these chambers, it does appear that maybe that has not gone far enough. I want to plead, Mr. President, that this is a very, very important bill. To the extent that we still have a residue of these concerns, a residue of these fears. I want to plead, Mr. President, that this bill not be killed here. It should be allowed to go for public hearing, so that whatever concerns that Senator Olujimi and others were not able to address in the course of their consultation could be addressed in the course of that public hearing. Mr. President, this Senate, especially the 9th Senate, we've gone on record as the most friendly to the opposite gender. And Mr. President, if I may just recall a few days ago, or about a couple of days ago, I think you were given an award for a he for she, by the female gender presented to you, I believe, by the Minister of Women Affairs. Mr. President, the Nigerian women folk, they are looking up to us. Our daughters, our wives, they are looking up to us. That this bill must not die a second time. So I'm appealing, Mr. President, that this bill should not die under your leadership, Mr. President. Today, it should be allowed to go to public hearing, so whatever concerns, genuine as they are, and nobody is playing down on how genuine they are, those concerns be addressed during public hearing, and then they come back before us, so we can have be properly guided, in consideration of whatever report is sent to us. So once again, Mr. President, on record, I'm in support of this bill.
First of all, I don't kill bills or I don't give them life. Bills are given life by distinguished senators if they agree with it. And bills sometimes suffer injuries when there is no serious agreement or understanding. And bills die when there is an overwhelming objection. What I will advise, even before you go for public hearing, let's address the concerns of our colleagues here. Because if some of our colleagues are saying this is the way they think we should go, and it doesn't reduce anything from the bill, then I will advise that we toe that line. But if we feel, well, it has to remain the way it is and it should pass, I'm not sure if that will be the best approach to it. But this, I will invite the sponsor of the bill. She has listened to the debate so far, and maybe she has something to clarify and throw some light on. Distinguished Senator Abiodun Olujimi.
There is no problem with the bill as it is. The only problem that has been addressed by the two senators is the title of the bill. I said yesterday, Mr. President, that the Sultanate arranged an outreach where every of the Muslim clerics, including the Murik chairman, were present, and they gave a bill of clean health to. They gave a clean health to the bill, and we have also done that with the Christian clerics, and they've also given it a clean bill of health. However, if the problem is the title, equal opportunities, that they do not want, then we can change the title and make it Gender Equity Bill. Gender Equity Bill, rather than the Gender and Equal Opportunities Bill, which is offensive to them.
The sponsor of the bill, Senator Olujimi, has moved towards addressing the concerns of our colleagues. I listened to Senator Yusuf objecting to the bill the way it is captured, and equally Senator Wamako. If that addresses their concerns, I think that should be fine. But I want to say one thing here. It's good to make efforts to reach out to people, stakeholders outside. But when a bill comes here, the clean bill of health somebody outside gives to it does not make it healthy enough when it comes to the floor. Because senators may be informed by so many other, their decisions could be informed by so many other considerations. So I believe that what we need to do is to come to an understanding of how this bill can be accepted as all the interests are addressed. So I will put the question. Does that satisfy Senator Yusuf?
We have not seen the body of the bill or the draft bill. Ordinarily, we should have seen it. However, we do not want the title to be in conflict with what is coming inside. So probably the best thing to do, either we step it down until the draft bill is presented to us before it goes to, because Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, we know that every bill, before it goes to public hearing, we will have the draft bill available. We do not have the draft bill before us. I don't want just to change the title only to conflict with the body. Yeah. So my own suggestion is, let us step down or let her represent it again together with the draft bill.
Please, distinguished colleagues, let's listen to what he's saying.
Whether the bill is consistent with the title. So I don't want us to have the title different and then the draft inside is different. Let it be presented together with the draft bill. I so move.
42 provides for non-discrimination on the ground of gender. And if there's a legislation being proposed that seems to accord in that regard, yes, issues have been raised by 2 distinguished senators, and I think graciously the sponsor has also expressed willingness to accommodate those concerns. I think the way to go about it is this. Whether the bill passed second reading does not mean that all the letters and sections will be passed at the committee stage or when it comes to the committee of the whole. So it is better to err on the side of constitutionality and also to err on the side of giving benefit of doubt that the eventual outcome will address the challenges that have been raised by the 3 senators that has raised those concerns, and as well as the concern of the sponsor. This is a legislative arm that is not strong by it. I don't think anybody will pass the legislation ultimately without us seeing each sections and provisions. So I want to say, rather than engage this hollow chamber in a controversy that people will not even be able to explain what is the basis of it, we should allow the bill to pass second reading. At the committee level, let any work and suggestions that anybody make to improve it to be in line with the Constitution and any other concern be addressed. That is my humble submission. Thank you, Mr. President.
James Ebiowo, Manager, CON Delta South. Mr. President, I would have liked to go through the debate, contributing about the merits and the demerits of the bill. But where we are now is about the process, the procedure. Concerns have been raised about the title of the bill. And correctly, the sponsor of this bill has amended the title to suit the purpose of those who raised objections. Mr. President, my humble view is that lawmaking is a process. It takes a very long process for law to get matured and then for it to become an act of parliament. This is just one step out of the lot. This is second reading. And since the sponsor of the bill has obliged to amend, and that she has submitted, and it's recorded, that instead of saying gender and equal opportunities bill, she has amended it to read gender equity bill. I think when it comes back, by His grace, this particular bill will be subjected to public scrutiny and heavy weight from both sides. We'll come and talk about it. And Yusuf talked about the Islamic religion and also the Christian religion. I am not an expert either in the Christian religion or in the Islamic religion. But those experts will be there for the public hearing. Any law that is enacted by Parliament must be implemented. If it becomes difficult for the law to be implemented, then whatever we are doing here will be in vain. Or whatever we have done here will amount to nothing. And therefore, it is better to carry everybody along. I think that is the essence of this public hearing. So where we are now, in my humble view, for me, I want to support the submission of Senator Ajibola for the bill not to be killed this time around at this stage, for the bill to pass through this second reading. And when it has gone through public hearing, and if it comes here, we will look at it. And if the details are not in consonance with the title, then we will delete all those areas, will be removed. So that the bill itself, when it eventually becomes an act of parliament, can be implemented nationwide. For me, already there is section 42 of the Constitution talking about non-discrimination. But we live in a society where between man and woman, from the very beginning in the history of the world, God created these two genders, man and woman. But there have been problems between man and woman ever since the creation of the world. I'm very surprised because we make up the sensitive people in the society, in the world. But looking at the society itself, it's very clear that in spite of the fact that there is Section 42, which is the ground norm, talking about non-discrimination, but this discrimination exists. At home, in your workplace, everywhere, discrimination exists. So if this will address it, if it will not offend religious beliefs, so be it. So, Mr. President, I want to urge that we allow this bill to pass through the second reading, unlike what it happened the last time when it was killed at this stage. By so doing, then we will have moved one step forward.
Look at getting our house in order. Let's not be emphasizing Murik and stakeholders outside have accepted. Our colleagues here will be the first hurdle. Our colleagues here are the first people we need to convince. What I would suggest is not to ignore, just hold on, not to ignore the concerns raised. And I will advise the sponsor of the bill, Senator Biodun Olujimi, to engage with Senator Yusuf, who raised these issues. Just hold on. Just hold on. You have a right to say no. You have a right to say no. I'm just looking for a way out for us. Because if at this point we are divided, this bill is not likely to survive it even outside. But once we are able to understand ourselves, and what is wrong in engagement? What is wrong in engaging our colleagues? But if you feel you don't need to engage anyone, it's okay. Yeah, Senator Olujimi.
It's not about anybody. It's about Nigeria. It's about our future. It's about our children. It's about tomorrow. So, if we pass the bill, it is to our credit that we're making tomorrow better for 60% of the population. What we have done is that we have gotten people who they will understand to engage them. I am sorry to say to you, Mr. President, that most of the senators were engaged. Even the Christian senators were engaged. And everybody was made to understand. In fact, we got a Professor Mustafa who reduced everything to Quranic verses in the Quran. And it was not until we had finished all of this and put everything together that we came. So, if you still want us to engage after that, it means we will engage for the next 6 months. And then where do we go from here? But the ball is in your court, Your Excellency. Thank you.
The engagement I'm talking about is we lobby ourselves here as parliamentarians. If I have a bill, if someone says he doesn't understand it, there's nothing wrong in talking to that person. So what I'm suggesting is it's not engagement for 6 months. You want this thing to go for second reading, just like suggested by Senator John's manager. Okay, it goes for second reading. But instead of waiting until it goes to public hearing before you talk with your senator's colleagues, you can talk with a colleague immediately after this. That's the kind of thing I'm saying, but you are saying 6 months. No, that's not. And you are the sponsor of the bill. You need to make everyone understands, and if possible, everyone queues behind it. Senator Abladon.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I rise to make or enter an intervention on the debate. Mr. President, I want to identify with the contributions made earlier by our colleagues to the effect that this same bill was presented in this hollow chamber, in the 8th Senate. And those of us who have survived to be in the 9th Senate will remember vividly what happened to it. There's nothing wrong in representing a bill. But we must be very, very careful. This grandstanding, playing to the gallery, will not pay. I didn't want to make an intervention in the beginning because I believe very strongly that with the advice I discussed with the distinguished Senator Yusuf, that we may be doing ourselves a lot of justice and doing the country for whom we are making these laws a lot of justice if we do some further consultation to take care of those sensitive issues, those emotional issues that would seem to bother some members of this chamber and the outer population of our great country that we are making these laws for. I see nothing wrong in the advice that we are human. This idea of it has to happen or the world will collapse is a fallacy. This country belongs to all of us, male and women. So it will pay a lot of dividend if we concede some ground to one another, to listen better to one another, and seek further advice because of the intricacies of what the bill may entail if we pass it in the form in which it is. It is easy to say, oh, let's go to public hearing. By the time we public hearing, we had this experience sometimes, again, the 8th Senate. They will go and mobilize, all sorts of people in the name of being Nigerians to come there and take the day. Again, grandstanding. Again, playing to the galleries. So I would advise, most sincerely and in my honor, that it will pay us greater dividend, that we seek some advice. All right? This 9th Senate will not end until 2023. What is a hurry? Let us also ponder for a while. There are things happening here we ignore at the peril of our reputation. Yes, you can have a simple majority, but a bill as fundamental as this one requires, a fuller representation in the Senate. By the time we pass it, Nigeria is speaking here. So let us be very careful, please. Let's have some little room for our neighbors so that we don't vote or take a decision on the basis of this sentiment of the moment. So I advise that my very dear colleague should consider deeply the idea of, withdrawing this bill for now and representing it, after the consultation made.
Senator Oloremi Tinubu.
I want to really thank Mr. President today because this is my third term in the Senate. And I believe since the 7th Assembly, we've gone this road before. And it's like going round in circle for a long time. But this is the first time I will see that at least some of my colleagues that have spoken today, they were part of it in the 7th Assembly when I came in. Maybe it's been debated before I came in. I don't know. But since I've been here, we've been this road, we've tread this road for too long. But this is the first time I will actually see my colleagues who are interested, that they are interested in this bill. They realize that they have daughters, they have wives, they have mothers, and who would not really want the best for our children. So I want to really thank our colleagues today for debating and wanting to dialogue. Because I believe if we dialogue rightly, we will get to where we are going. And I believe that this is the time and day that this bill will see the light of the day. And it started with the mover of this bill saying that, the sponsor of this bill, saying that she's changing the topic, the title of the bill, to be gender equity. And to me, that is where I've always wanted to support, that we have to be accountable. But if we go back and really rejig this bill and work it the way it's supposed to be worked, so that for coming generations, we are now elderly people in society. And with things happening around us day and night, we don't even know what happens to our children. Even the boys are being abused, the young girls are being abused. But this is the time that we can look at the way we can get, justice for the vulnerable. And
So what are you now suggesting?
What I'm suggesting that we want to look at it in details. We want to rework whatever that needed to go through. Yes. We are ready to dialogue. That's what I said. Yes. We are ready to dialogue, but this is the time and age that this bill has to come to light.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I think it's better to come to the grips of these issues, really on what is whole thing about lawmaking. Lawmaking, to me, my own small understanding, is a process. And what we are doing today in respect of this bill is only a second part of the process. There is still a long way to go. I know an Islamic scholar who was at University Don in Bayero University came to me in my office. I have not seen him. Then he sat me down and we went through different sections of the bill, and he was bringing the Quranic injunctions and the hadiths and several to support certain sections of the bill. From what I saw, this particular bill is completely different from the one that we have seen in the 9th and 8th Senate. And I'll be very frank here. Now, Mr. President, it's not an Islamic scholar out there or any conglomeration of NGOs when you invite them, like Senator Abdullah Adamu has said, or you invite them to public hearing, that makes the laws of this country. The laws of this country are made here. The laws of this country are made here. Whatever anybody is going to say outside there, if we don't have our colleagues to buy into them, it won't go. We are the ones who have the responsibility, who have been elected by Nigerian people to make the laws for this country. Therefore, any nebulous attempt by any one of us who is sponsoring a bill to say that he is not going to consult with members, I mean, we are going on slippery grounds. We are all equal in this chamber. There is nobody here who is bigger than any other person. We are all senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Therefore, if there are certain areas in a particular bill, I think it is incumbent on us who are interested in seeing the bill to convince our colleagues to accept that those provisions are harmless. So for me, I see no problem about consultations. A lot of the issues that some of our colleagues have had about some sections of the bill, maybe, lack of proper information about the content. So I can understand from what Senator Yusuf was saying that they have not seen the bill. They have not seen what it contains. So for me, I think it is important, humbly speaking, I would suggest we are the people who are making the laws. Let each one of us have a copy of that revised bill so that we can now go through it, and then when we come for a representation, our own conscience will be very clear, instead of anything going in a process that we don't understand. We have to take responsibility, and we have to be the people who are going to do it. So for me, I think we should give our own colleagues the opportunity to go through the draft of the act even before we go for public hearing. So with due respect to my colleague, Senator Olujimi, I think you are not being belittled by asking you to consult further with colleagues. Because once we have proper consultation and we get this thing, every one of us agreeing yes, you have less problem in all these kind of things going through. So please let's provide each one of us a copy of the bill, then we present it for a second reading, and we'll solve it. If there is any problem which is not fundamental, we'll resolve it in the process, either at the committee level or at the level of public hearing. So with due respect, Senator Alujimi, you don't lose any face, by going this way, by consulting with wider colleagues so that we can, take an informed position about what is in or outside the bill. Thank you, Mr. President.
At this point, make my final comments and then invite Senator Olujimi to state her final position. And my final comments will be, first of all, like Senator Balana Allah said, in the 8th Senate, the debate did not go this far, and the bill was killed. In this Senate, it's obvious that we want to pass a bill of this nature, but there are concerns. It means we have moved forward. I will advise that we don't kick the can down the road. Nothing is taken away from our desire to pass this bill once we engage. And when we say engage, now there is emphasis on getting the bill given to all of us. Senator Olujimi and any other person that understands that bill well should engage with those of our colleagues that have shown some concerns. I'm sure we are going to arrive at some compromises, and that is how it is. This bill will survive by the grace of God, but let's work for it to survive. And like the leader said, it starts and ends here, not any other person outside. When we go for public hearings, we just want to listen to further advice. But if our colleagues here are against something because they don't understand it, I think we will be overstretching our luck by saying, no, let's go to public hearing. Because the public hearing is only supposed to enhance what we do here, not to replace it. So this is my position. This bill should survive. We want to pass a bill that can be implemented. I think Senator Johnson just said that in every part of the country without reservation. We don't want this bill to suffer the kind of fate it did in the 8th Assembly. And Senator Olujimi, the sponsor, you have the floor. What is your final position on this?
Much, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Well, thank God for where we are right now. But let me say this much, sir. About 2-3 months ago, I had circulated copies of the bill. And some people even wrote letters to say they will be co-sponsors of the same bill. I have a list of 62 members of these chambers who say they will co-sponsor it. However, where we are, Mr. President, I believe the way to go is to step it down and see if we can convince the 2 or 3 people who are against certain aspects of the bill. And then we will come back at a later date. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Senator Olujimi, for that understanding. And distinguished colleagues, I want to appeal to all of us. When we receive our copies of the bill, please, let's read it. Where we have definite reservations or misunderstanding or concerns, Senator Olujimi should be alerted so that she explains whatever. And Senator Olujimi, the sponsor, please, if there is anything that we pointed out of serious concern to our colleagues, let's find an accommodation so that when we come back, we should be able to pass the bill. Thank you all. Thank you.